You are now part of a social experiment.
See now where my limit is. Only got no ohs.
At 16 years old, did you just walk into headquarters like to say you want to be a part? Like, what was that process like for you?
Yeah, well, I was hanging out with some of my high school, my junior high school friends who had since become party members, right? And so we was out in front of the party office, and I was helping out get the papers out of the truck so they be delivered into the community, right? The Black Panther Party newspaper, right? Some people don't know the Black Panther Party had one of the largest circulation of newspapers during that period of time. They had a circulation of about 250,000 pages. 350,000 papers, right? Monthly. And you imagine how that extended from hand to hand, right? It reached about 1 million people monthly. We're always reaching about 1 million people with our newspaper. And so during that time, while we was getting the bulk of the papers out and getting them ready for distribution and so forth and so on, I decided I'm going to become a Black Panther Party member. And I walked into the office. This is on Fillmore Street, the Fillmore office in San Francisco. Walked into the office. I told them, I'm going to be a party member. Right, and they gave me an application. I filled out the application, and then I began the process of going to study classes, PE classes, PE classes, political education classes. And because you have to go through political education classes to really understand the dynamics of what the Black Panther Party was. Black Panther Party didn't let you come in and just be anybody and not have any foundation from which to operate from. Mm-hmm. And so that was part of my first understanding of the real politics of struggle, real politics of revolution.
And what were some of the politics of the Black Panther Party that you were learning at the time?
One of the things that many people know that the Black Panther Party first initial fundraiser, right, was used as a fundraiser, was Mao Zedong Red Book, right? Mm-hmm. And so we used to get the Red Book and sell the Red Book and raise funds, but we also were taught out of the Red Book, right? Another book was Franz Fanon, Wretched of the Earth, was another book that we used to teach one. Another was Richard Debray. Jeez, I can't remember his first name. Debray, his book, and there's many others that we studied during that period of time.
And also too, like part of Huey P. Newton's philosophy, which he talks about in his book.
Yeah, his name is Regis Debray.
Got it. Okay. Got it. So yeah, part of Huey P. Newton's philosophy, which he talks about in his book, Revolutionary Suicide, was that if you were going to be a revolutionary, you had to know that at any moment your life, might be taken as a, part of the revolution. And it was the price that you paid for being a revolutionary. So at 16 years old, was this conversation had with you?
With me? I innately understood that because of the work that we were doing and seeing some of my comrades being hassled and arrested and or killed by the police. So I knew that we were confronting danger. And that's the reason why we have today, where we have this situation where we have to give our kids to talk. Why do we have to give our kids to talk? Right? The primary reason why, because we know there are people out there who are prepared and willing to kill us. Right? That's the reality. And so we try to teach our young people to stay alive. You see, Black Panther Party of self-defense. Right? And so with that understanding, I knew that by my engaging in the party, at any given time, there's a possibility that I would be murdered by the police.
Got you. So, after you go through the PE process and everything, you get your education. What were the next steps? What were you doing?
Well, naturally, you got to sell the paper, right? Mm-hmm. Be out there selling the paper, doing that work, right? Or you get assigned to the free breakfast program, or you get assigned to the health clinic, or you get assigned to certain other areas of concern. A couple of times I was assigned to areas of patrol and security. When Betty Shabazz came to San Francisco after Al-Haj Malik Shabazz was murdered, right? I was on part of the security patrol, right? Peripheral security patrol for her, when they brought her in. And so those kind of things was important in our training.
Got you. Were you trained on how to use a gun and things like that, or did you already know that?
No. There are what we call technical training, or TE, technical equipment training, right? Where you are taught how to use weapons, the proper use of weapons. One of the things that was imposed upon or impressed upon in the party is that every party house had to have a shotgun. Had to have a shotgun in that house in order to defend itself, right? And so that was part of the reasons why the training was necessary. Right? You couldn't have people have weapons and didn't know how to use them, and the proper use, proper care of weapons. And so that was really important with the party as well.
Right. So now you were really into, entrenched in the party. What do you say to those that really don't know that history, that say, the Black Panthers were a terrorist organization, they were separatists, they were racist? What do you say to people that say that about the party?
They need to go study the party's work, right? You can't let people tell you about the party. You got to go study the party. And when you go study the party, then you know what the party is about, right? There's all kinds of naysayers. There's naysayers about us having been able to read. You know what I mean? When they didn't want us to read. There's naysayers, right? So for us and our struggle for empowerment, our struggle for freedom, real freedom, right? We're always going to have naysayers. I'll give you another example of that. Dr. Martin Luther King, in his later years, back in 1968, prior to his being arrested, he made a speech called The Other America. Nobody had heard that speech. They should go get that speech. Go get that speech, Other America, and go give Malcolm X's speech, A Message to the Grassroots, and compare them. And you'll find that there's similar exchanges of ideas and concerns and theoretical foundations for which they're viewing the future. Both of them, in each of those speeches, said we, Black people in this country, African people in this country, suffering from state-sponsored genocides. Malcolm X said that in 1964 in his Message to the Grassroots. Martin Luther King said that in 1968 in This Other America. Right. Martin also said at that time that he began to rethinking his struggle for integration, right? Because he felt that he was directing his people to go into a burning building, looking at the United States as a burning building, right? And he started to reflect on that and started to consider, said, maybe this integration thing is not what we need to be doing, okay? And that's why we got a problem today with many of our Black so-called elites, right? Because they have become assimilated. People need to go look up that word assimilated and what assimilation means, right? Because now we have a bunch of Black people who are assimilated into a system of white supremacy, right? And so they have all the trappings, all the colors, all of being Black, right? But they look for white people for their affirmation, right? For their value. You see what I'm saying? And as a result of that, oftentimes they misguide Black people in terms of their own advantages, like seeking their own opportunity, seeking their own advantage at the risk of defeating our struggle, at the risk of undermining our movement, at the risk of selling out our people.
Understood. So from 16 to 19, you're an active member, and then you become a part of the Black Liberation Army. So can you share with us what exactly the Black Liberation Army was, and then what your responsibilities were?
Yes, yeah. You introduced me as a former member, right? I'm not a former member. I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran of the Black Panther Party and a veteran of the Black Liberation Army.
Thank you for that correction, sir. Appreciate that.
Keep this understood. The Black Panther Party, from its inception, rule number 6 of the Black Panther Party was that no Black Panther Party member can join an underground organization except for the Black Liberation Army, right? Therefore, when Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seals had the conception, had the idea of building a Black Panther Party, they knew at some point in time we would necessarily have to engage in armed struggle. And so there was a point in our development of the Black Panther Party that they began the development of the Black Underground, right? The Black Underground, that military armed wing of the movement, right? Which evolved and became to be known as the Black Liberation Army. And at the age of 18 going on 19, I was recruited into the Black Liberation Army, to the Black Underground.
Right. Now, in your book, which I have right here, we are.
Oh, you finally got it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I was going to get it today. Very good.
Got the book. Definitely got to examine it. Just got it today, but I was flipping through it, and you had some parts just dating, some things that occurred with the Black Liberation Army, some dates and things like that. And looking at it, it's very different than, I guess, the Black Panthers for self-defense. It seemed like the Black Liberation Army was more on the offense, was more offensive. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that that's what it was, or was it still part of the self-defense?
No, it's always part of self-defense. Although, when you look at military strategy, there's always a degree of offense and defense, right? And some offense is also defensive. Some defense is also offensive, depends upon how it's being applied, right, in the military sense. And so for the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army, the Black Liberation Army was the armed wing of the Black Panther Party. Well, the Black Panther Party was the mass organization, the above ground organization. The Black Liberation Army was the underground organization or the clandestine organization. And what it did, what it operated on, ensuring that the Black Panther Party would survive by chastising a system that was oppressing the Black Panther Party, right? Or oppressing our community, right? Letting them folks know that if somebody gonna die, then this ain't gonna be no discrimination here. All right. If somebody gonna bleed, then both sides is gonna bleed. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so keep this also in mind, statistically, right? And historically established, statistically, when the Black Liberation Army was on the move, right? Police killing the Black people diminished. Right? It slowed down, way down. Okay. When they destroyed the Black Panther Party, the killing the Black Panther Party, Black Liberation Army, the killing the Black people skyrocketed. Right? Because there was no reprisals, there was no fear, right? And they began killing us with impunity as they were doing prior to the existence of the Black Panther Party.
Speaking of the demise of the Black Panther Party, one of the main things, I know you talk about this a lot too in your book and during your lectures and interviews, was COINTELPRO. Were you guys aware of COINTELPRO at the time of the party? And if you were, what were some things done in defense of COINTELPRO? And then for those that don't know, can you share the information that you have about what it is and how it came about, COINTELPRO?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a long trajectory to the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and J. Edgar Hoover, who eventually evolved to become the director and established what is called Counterintelligence Program. That's COINTELPRO, Counterintelligence Program. Well, we got to keep in mind that J. Edgar Hoover, as a young agent, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, right? Mm-hmm. He was on Marcus Mosiah Garvey's case to get rid of Marcus Garvey, right? And that was the first point where he began to recognize the extent from which an individual and organization is able to organize Black people in their own goals and objectives, right, for their own empowerment. And so we find that in COINTELPRO, but one of the things in COINTELPRO was to prevent the rise of a Messiah, right? This is J. Edgar Hoover, right? This is a lesson that he learned from dealing with the greatest organizer of Black people in our contemporary times, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, right? He saw Marcus Garvey organizing in America, organized in Latin America, organized in the Caribbean, organized in Africa, organized in England, right? That's fearful for white supremacy, right? And J. Edgar Hoover was a white supremacist. I keep that understood, right? And so he created conditions from which to destroy the Black Panther Party. He utilized every method, every tactic that the state would use to destabilize a country, including assassination, right? Provocateurism, surveillance, infiltration, right? All those little dirty tricks that they use against other nations, they use against the Black Panther Party to destroy the Black Panther Party.
So,
came to the point where in one of the documents, let me make this point. In one of his documents, he said that young Black people, Black people, if they should become ingrained or become part of a movement, a Black liberation, right? Become revolutionaries, they'd be dead revolutionaries. That's in paper. That's in right. There's a program called neutralization. Neutralization means to terminate, right? To exterminate. That's what neutralization means. And in the paper, they talk about neutralization, okay? And he said they would be dead revolutionaries. He didn't say they would be captured and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. He didn't say that. He said they'd be dead revolutionaries. So in essence, he was saying that they would be executed. They would be neutralized.
So every day I'm going hard. I'm talking business, bank accounts, and credit cards. And somehow we defeat the odds and making sure that no one starved illegal or you had a job.